Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say it's all right.
Hello, Fortitude audience. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Heather Kittleson, and I am your host, and I am sitting next to my fabulous husband, Amos, who is my co-host.
Hello.
And today in our studio, we have Ruth and Rollie. Hello, you guys.
Hi,
Hello.
how are you?
Hi, I'm good. Straight from Iowa, y'all are. We have the honor and privilege to go to church with these two folks, fine folks, sitting next to us today. And when COVID happened in 2020, y'all went through some really ridiculous things, some very scary things. And so being a part of that and watching what was going on, it was really touch and go. And we haven't had a conversation about COVID yet. You guys are the first full COVID story. We had a gentleman in here earlier who was in the hospital during COVID and had some other things, but this is a full story of some things that have happened. And so thank you for joining us and just being willing to share this, because it's a tough story today.
Yeah, and we really haven't talked about it a lot.
No, because
we can't remember it.
Yeah, you can't remember it. Rollie sure does.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit, tell our audience who you are and where you're from and what you do, and just give us a little of who you are today.
Okay.
We're Ruth and Rollie Vander. We live in Rock Rapids, Iowa, and we've been married for almost 42 years.
Wow,
I know.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
2 kids, 6 grandkids, and we're living the dream.
Yeah. Because we're living.
Yeah, because we're living.
Yeah, it's been we've lived in Rock Rapids. I was born in Rock Rapids. I've lived in Rock Rapids. We have cemetery plots in Rock Rapids, so we're just covered.
Yeah. Wow. You guys used to have a business in Rock Rapids.
We did. I worked with my dad for 47 years, and then we sold that business 5 years ago. And my intent was to retire. And Ruth has worked at a company for 31 years.
Wow.
And they had a guy that left after 33 years, and so I started working there for 5 years. When I started, the guy gave me like 3 months, and I showed him 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
What kind of business did you sell, Rollie?
I had a GM dealership.
Okay.
Sold cars.
Yeah. What was your favorite? What was your favorite car that you ever had or drove or loved to have on your lot? That's a tough one.
Was it the one that's the highest margins that didn't come back? Is that your favorite car?
I don't know if I ever really had a favorite. I remember the first car that was over $10,000. And I thought, you know what? We're never going to sell a car again. Never. We'll never sell cars.
Really?
10,000 is way too much.
Do you remember what model it was?
Yeah, it was a Corvette.
For 10,000.
I remember the guy that bought it. I'm thinking, wow, this guy has got a lot of money. It was 10,000. And then when I left the business, one of the last vehicles I sold was a pickup, a 1-ton crew cab dually diesel. And I think it was like 68,000.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's quite a bit.
We need to get Amos a new car.
Our whole life has been kind of what we were driving. This happened. I mean, This is the car we took on our honeymoon. This is the car when Emily was born. This is the car when Tom was born. You know that.
That was our life. Remember?
Yeah.
Remember I had that, Ruth? No. And it's interesting, as I look back now, my dad and mom, my dad never wanted to drive new cars, and they always drove an old pickup. He had junky pickups. He liked to drive junky pickups. So as we've gotten older, we had a nice pickup, sold the pickup. Now we're kind of getting a little bit of a junky truck, so it's like history repeating itself.
I learned how to drive with an 87 Chevy stick. So I had the three gear with a bucket seat. Amazing. My oldest brother is actually bringing it back to life right now because it's super old. Pulled out the engine and no thanks. I had a lot of fun memories in that truck though. So Rollie, I want to go directly into 2020 in November. And I remember getting some text threads coming in masses of people, just pray for Ruth. It's really touch and go. And when COVID happened and everything just went haywire, there were a lot of people really close to us, and I didn't know anyone directly, like family, but you guys got hit in a couple different ways. So can you walk us through that, Rollie?
Sure, I can. Some of those dates are burned in your mind. I was diagnosed with COVID on November 16 of 2020, November, and same day as my dad. And Ruth, we tested Ruth. She didn't, nothing.
Nothing.
On that day, then they flew my dad from Rock Rapids to Sioux Falls. And Ruth was she went to the house to get my dad out of the house. But I couldn't go because I was sick. I didn't know how bad this COVID thing was. My dad progressed through that week. On November 23, my dad died of COVID. His lungs actually just gave out and he died.
Was he in pretty good health?
Yeah, my dad was in his 80s, but he was healthy. He wasn't a sickly, didn't smoke, he was maybe heavy, overweight, but not in a bad way.
Okay.
And so that was a crazy thing. On the 22nd, that Sunday night, my dad had DNR things and all that, do not resuscitate, nothing heroic and all that. And somewhere that got lost. Oh. But I couldn't go to the hospital and tell him that because I had COVID and it was a COVID place. So that Sunday night, I had to call in. My brother, in his job, he said that's something I can't do. My sister wouldn't do it. So I had to call and say, my dad doesn't want this. You have to stop. Let him die. So you carry that like, I had to call for my dad to die. Anyway, on that, so he didn't survive. And that was 3 days before Thanksgiving. No, that's not right. Because his funeral wasn't until the 30th.
Okay.
You're all right, Ruth. Jeez.
Yay.
Hey, you do remember. Ruth, you remember.
So that was a Monday, and Thursday was Thanksgiving. So Ruth, in that time, got COVID.
Okay.
And just fell apart. You could just watch her fail. She didn't have the strength to get out of her chair. She couldn't do anything. She couldn't eat. I thought, you have to eat something. You have to eat something, Ruth. So I brought her mashed potatoes. Here, try to eat these.
Yeah.
Couldn't even do that. So
and when we were talking about this earlier, Rollie, you said in the house, it was almost like Ruth was just staring off into space.
Yeah,
like she wasn't communicating. She wasn't able to formulate sentences.
Right. She couldn't stay awake. And it was just.
Well, apparently we FaceTimed or Zoomed or something with his dad dying.
Yeah.
And I watched it, but I
don't remember it.
No, I made some comments on the meeting that I probably shouldn't have.
That was, but you just didn't remember.
Oops.
Oh man.
So he died, and I got the privilege of watching my dad die on FaceTime.
That is so hard.
Because I had COVID, I couldn't go, but my brother, my sister, and my son didn't have COVID, so they could go be with him.
So you guys watched it on FaceTime. And did you know at this time that Ruth had it? Like you had tested her already, and you've known from her behavior she had COVID.
There was things that she had a fever and chills and all the symptoms, but
we thought maybe I had pneumonia because I've had pneumonia in the past.
Okay.
And so it kept progressing till Thursday which was Thanksgiving Day. I finally said, we're going to the hospital now. So I literally carried her to the car.
Okay.
And
you guys went to the local Rock Rapids.
We went to the local hospital. Because that's just what you do. You go to the hospital, right? Yep. So we went, and I had to leave because I couldn't be with her. She had COVID. But there were some unbelievably good, saintly people that were working there. So that was a relief. I didn't want to, it was scary because I didn't want to leave her alone. Like I just saw my dad die virtually alone. He spent a week by himself alone. Yeah. I didn't want Ruth to be alone.
Yeah.
So it was good. There was a person that works at the hospital. Her name was Wanda, and she was like a saint.
Yeah.
It's like, good. If I didn't have Wanda there, that would have been just like wicked.
Well, because she was able to communicate with you. And I think a lot of people that went through this had said the communication piece was the hardest because you just didn't know. Everything happened so fast and they were gone, and then you couldn't go see them and couldn't get through to ask questions because everybody was just so overwhelmed.
I could call once a day at 10 in the morning, and I'd get a nurse. I'd say, how's Ruth? Okay. And that was about it because they didn't really know either how bad she was and how fast she was failing. And then she'd kind of rebound and things are going good. And then it didn't go so good.
So walk me through that because it was very quick. it was very quick. You were trying to find a bed, and there was a bed open in Marshall, Minnesota area.
Yep. And so it was like the Monday before, this Tuesday, was my dad's funeral. She didn't go to that. She had no idea. And then Tuesday, the doctor called and said she's doing pretty well. I think if she can maintain, she'll stay in Rock Rapids and we'll be okay. Tuesday evening, like at 7 o'clock, the hospital called and said things are going bad. We don't know what's going on, but she's failing. At 10 o'clock, one of the doctors called and said, you better come up here.
Oh, man.
Like, now?
Yeah.
Now. So I go up there and I walk in. I said, so what do I do? And she said, the PA said, just go in a room because nothing else is working. We don't know what to do. So all Tuesday, from Tuesday evening until Wednesday morning, I'm sitting in the room with her. And she's pulling on her BiPAP. I can't breathe. I said, Ruth, you have to wear this. You're going to die. Oh, and they said, well, we found a room. We're going to fly her to Marshall, Minnesota. I said, no, we're not going to Marshall. We're going to Sioux Falls. We're going to go to Avera. There's no room in Avera. I said, well, that's where we're going. Make a room. The night went on, and she was going down, and the morning came, and they came and said, she's got to go somewhere. There's a space. I think we can get a space in Omaha. I said, no, not doing that. A little while later, Ruth's brother is a nurse in Rapid City. He said, there's a room here. You can fly her to Rapid City. I said, nah, it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's a long ways.
And she was failing. The doctors didn't know what to do. My brother works at Avera, and he called and said, there's a room at another hospital. He said, take it. That's the only one we're going to get. Just take it. I said, Jerry, we're not. We're going to Avera. He said, there is no room.
Yeah. But God made a room.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why were you turning down these other offers? And so,
because my brother he works at Avera Hospital. He's a chaplain at Avera. Mm-hmm. So I thought Jerry can take care of Ruth because she won't be alone. Jerry will be there.
Yeah.
He's our mole.
He's our inside track.
So you wanted someone on the inside. Mm-hmm. It was that or nothing.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to know that she was going to not be alone.
Yeah.
Because so another doctor from Rock Rapids came in and he said, I don't care. Wherever there's a room, she's going. We're out of time and we're out of choices. She's going wherever. And as he pulled the door to leave, a nurse came in and said, a helicopter from Avera is on its way. Mm.
How about that?
Yeah, just like, that was a total miracle.
Yeah.
There was a room that became available, which happened to be the same room that my dad was in. Wow. So it was.
Yeah. Oh, man.
The odds of that.
2110 is the room number.
2110.
And this whole time, Ruth had no idea this was going on.
None of it. Mm-mm. So, Rollie, this is where it gets real because she gets in the helicopter. You did not go with her, correct?
No, I couldn't go. They wouldn't let me go.
You get there, and without saying a doctor's name, because we don't want to do that, but the helicopter lands. So the helicopter lands, and the people come out of the helicopter and say, we aren't going to take her until she has a vent in. She didn't have a vent before this. So the helicopter, the personnel, whatever, they vented her. Okay. In Rock Rapids, before they would fly with her. Okay. So they go off to Sioux Falls, which is a godsend. That's only a 12-minute flight from Rock Rapids. They land, and they're going in, and this other doctor recognized that she had more than something was wrong. And he said, we have to do this now. And he did it. Yeah. Had he not reacted and seen what had to happen, again, she would not have survived. Oh, man.
Do you know what the thing was?
It was her lungs had collapsed. She couldn't breathe at all.
Put in chest tubes.
He said, we need a chest tube now.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
And so
he did it. And when we were talking, it's like one of those earthly angels, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Any other doctor may have not taken the chance and just did it because a lot of times you have to get permissions for things or whatever, but he saved your life. Exactly. He took executive decision to save your life in that moment. And there's a lot of earthly angels walking around. So thank you to that doctor.
Oh, for sure. But it wasn't just that. It was like if we'd have gone to Omaha or Rapid City or Marshall, the flight would have been too long.
Yeah, it would have.
She did not survive. And because it wasn't me being persistent about Avera. It was God jacking on me saying, nope, Avera. Yeah. This is where we're going.
And so that's what I was wondering. Did you felt like that was the most important thing? Just hold out for that. That's what has to happen. And that takes courage.
The nurses and stuff got kind of frumpy. Like, this is your wife's health. You got to do something.
That's what I mean. It takes a lot of courage.
I said, no, we're going to Avera.
Where
My brother said, take the room, go.
Yeah.
But
there's I just feel like there's something more. I'm not sure what the right question is, because that does take so much courage. And in those moments, that's scary.
But it was,
and everyone's telling you the opposite.
But I had not a shadow of a doubt. There was no choice. We had to go to Avera. End of story. That's where we're going.
Huh.
And to advocate for that, like, you knew that. I think that's what you're trying to pull out. Like,
Yeah.
you knew your spirit man was pulling on you and saying, we are going to Avera, and I'm going to advocate for this because I just know in my heart it's right.
And I think so. To back up some, I believe that God is a God of order. Things happen for a purpose and a time sequentially. God didn't create COVID. It's this chaos where nobody knew what to do. Nobody knew how to handle it. Nobody knew how to treat it. This was the world's way of taking control and just creating chaos. But God is still saying, go to Avera.
Yeah.
Go to Avera.
Yeah. So it was courage and trust.
Yeah.
And Rollie's kind of known for throwing out the fleece.
Okay.
You know the story. He's done that several times in our life.
But it was just there was no time for fleece throwing. It was, we're just going to Avera.
What does that mean, fleece throwing?
Gideon, the story of Gideon, where he throws the fleece onto the threshing floor. If this is supposed to happen, the fleece will be wet, the ground will be dry. Mm-hmm. And that's what God does. The next day he says, oh, okay, God, that was good. But now let's throw out the fleece again. The fleece will be dry and the ground will be wet. And it does.
So you're like Gideon.
Like, show me, God. Okay, God, I believe this will happen, but show me.
Yeah. And that's a whole nother level of faith.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, but when you're jammed in a spot like your wife
Life or death.
is going to die.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You guys, we've only been together 10 years, and I like you ain't going nowhere. And you guys we're looking at like how many, 38 years?
42.
But 38 at that time. Like, that's a long time with your best friend. Your guys' story is really cute about how you met. So if we have time at the end, I want to go back to that. But so you're in Sioux Falls, you're at Avera, and they get you in there. And how long did you stay? How long were you actually in Avera before? Because you're with us today, which is a beautiful thing, which means
I think a total hospital time was 22 days.
okay.
Only 2 on the vent, I think, because, they did the vent thing, and I got sick really fast, and I think I got better. If you want to say fast, it's not real fast, but I came out of it pretty fast.
It was very fast.
Yeah.
So when she was flown in and this doctor did his procedure, like he said, my brother, of course, my mole, gets to see her in the bed, and he said, boy, she's really sick. And the nurse said, no, it will take a miracle for her to get better.
Oh.
And it was a miracle. When it was time for her vent to come out, the nurse, I talked to the nurse that morning, and he said, we're going to start slowly weaning her off the vent. This will take 2 or 3 days. This is like at 10 o'clock. That's my time to call was 10. By 2 o'clock, my brother called and said, well, she's off the vent. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Oh. When did you finally start to, were your eyes open and you started to be able to come to? Like, was that scary, Ruth, when you were in the hospital?
I remember them taking me from ICU to my room. This is like, you're laying on the bed and all you can see is the ceiling lights and tiles. It seemed like we went for miles. But I kind of, I remember that a little bit. And I remembered the room. I mean, all I could do was stare at the wall for the whole time. And
did you know when you woke up why you were there? Like, were you confused, scared?
I wasn't scared. I was probably more confused. Mm-hmm. It's like, good grief. What are all these wires and tubes and bells and whistles? And it just created a little
chaos,
anxiety for me.
And you were able to go see her, Rollie? Was anyone able to see you at that time while you were in there?
Not until she got into a regular room and her vent was off and she was able to breathe on her own.
Once I didn't test positive for COVID anymore, so I think. And
we didn't test. I couldn't, if I was positive. But
you couldn't go in.
I think it was the last week that they could come in. I was there alone for a couple weeks.
But you had to, one person a day was allowed in. So if I went in that day, That was it. Nobody else our kids couldn't go in. So the next day, if our daughter went in, only she could go in that whole day.
So Rollie, talk through the care. So when not care for you and for your family, not necessarily for Ruth at the time, but when tragedy happens and people don't know what to do or how to help or any of that, you went through a roller coaster of way too much overload. And so talk that through with us a little bit of what you went through.
So it was, people are well-intentioned. They meant well, but you're getting all these casseroles. It's like, what do I do with another casserole?
Yeah.
I'm trying to eat it because, that's the Dutch thing to do. Don't want to waste it. And people meant well, but I had just gotten through COVID and I was exhausted, tired. And yet and then they would come and they'd want to say, well, how's she doing? So you have to go through illness, like tell the story again.
Yeah.
And there were sometimes when people would come and I would just feel like, please just leave me alone.
Yeah.
I just need to be alone with my thoughts. And they mean well. They really meant well. I don't mean that to bash them, but sometimes the best thing you can do when you see people is just say, I'm sorry.
Yeah. That is just even in our Bible study, we were talking through what it's, when people are mourning or people are going through really tough stuff. What is the best way to approach that?
And I think one thing would have been good, and when Ruth came home, that was great, but maybe do something 6 weeks later.
Right. When
the newness is wore off, to walk by, how you doing? What can I do for you?
Circle back around. The giving time. I think that is that's a piece I caught when we were talking from you is you just needed some time of just some Rollie time to just process because you were advocating for your bride. You went, like you said, went through COVID. You just lost your dad. You had a lot going on in that moment.
Yeah, we couldn't have a funeral for my dad. We had to just go to the cemetery and have a burial. That's all we could do.
Did you press in a lot with God? Did you find that you were ever angry with God, or how did you?
No, I wasn't angry, and I think in my heart, I knew that she was going to live. I just knew when my dad went to the hospital, he flew away. I thought, oh, my dad's not going to survive. Oh. But there's something also inside that I just felt she was going to live. She wasn't going to. And I don't know what brought that on.
We've talked to our kids about it just recently, and neither of them thought I was going to live.
But I think about
their reactions and how they handled it, and their.
I was probably angry. They were more just sad.
Yeah. How if you don't mind, how did they explain what they went through?
They both said that they just had these crying episodes. Tom sat up by his bed and his wife sat on the bed, and she said, I didn't know what to do. Tom just sat there and had his crying jag, and Emily had hers in the shower till she couldn't cry anymore and
ran out of hot water.
Yeah. And Tom was in Rock Rapids. Yeah. And Emily is in Wayne, Nebraska. So it was so.
But they were, I think they were maybe mad.
Yeah.
Why does this happen? What's the reason behind this? And I think that I was more confused and frustrated. Like, God, just tell me what's going on. This is not a big deal. It's not classified. Just tell me. My wife is sick. What do I got to do?
Yeah. Well, he finally turned all the communication to our families or friends or people over to our kids.
Okay. Yeah.
Because he got sick of it.
Well, I wasn't sick of it. Again, people would call. It's like, I can't tell you anymore. That's all. I told you all I know. And then they say, well, does she have this? I don't know. Can she do this? I don't know.
Yeah. And people really just want to know because they love you and they want to press in and they want to be able to help. And then some people just really are nosy. Let's be real. And some people are. But
it was COVID. Nobody really knew what to expect.
Yeah.
I mean, even the doctors and nurses, this was just totally new for them. So they are like crazy heroes. They were pretty brave to stick with it.
So since all of this has happened and you have gotten out, I mean, I just remember everybody just cheering and being super excited and grateful and just feeling so blessed that you were back with us and at church, but it wasn't like you just walked to the hospital and you were all better. Like you went through some really significant health things. Didn't you say you lost your hair?
My hair, probably about 80% of it fell out. I'd be in the shower and it would just be going down the drain and all over. And I took pictures of my hair loss. I kind of journaled it it was pretty significant. And I have a lot of hair. Yeah. So it was clogging up the drains. And
But
what else did you?
I have some lung damage.
Okay.
It's called glass opacities of the lungs.
Okay.
It's like milk glass. Can't really see in it very well.
Okay.
But and neuropathy.
different weather, like today's a cooler, windy day. She can't be in windy weather.
It's hard to breathe.
Yeah, I was going to ask. Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm. And the survivor's guilt that's come on more and more, I think.
Oh, tell me, what is that? What do you?
Well, his dad dying and me not. And all the people that did pass. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that speaks for that, for the guilt, because they all, I don't know what the percentage is if you're on a vent, the survival rate. I don't think it's real high.
Does that kind of kick you in gear of a place of if I'm here and I was able to survive, then I need to do some big things in life. Like, has it made you kind of?
Not especially.
Okay.
Just it's a lot of whys.
A lot of why. Mm-hmm. So, Rollie, you're also going through cancer. You rang the bell today. With congratulations.
Yay.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
It is a really big
deal.
So
it's huge.
It is. It's kind of like a one thing after another that you two have both went through. And when I look at you as a married couple of 42 years, and you guys met in college, like just that, if we get a few minutes, but like you two are sweethearts. You're best friends. Like you have walked through a lot together. You work together. It's really beautiful to see your companionship and relationship.
Remember when we got engaged, my mom said, you didn't fall into love, you grew into it. And that's always kind of stuck with me. Well, she was a wise woman.
And he told you he was going to marry you, and you were like, are you sure? What? Are you sure about that?
Yeah. Who are you?
Yeah, well.
Yeah. Total stranger, Rollie.
It was.
Let's actually quick talk about that. So
How we got engaged or married?
Well, just at college, when you spotted her, wasn't it the first day of college?
It was not even college. It was signing at freshman orientation.
Oh, okay.
So back in high school thinking, I prayed to God, you know what, God, I know you don't have a lot to work with here, but I would really like to get married. I really need a wife. That would be great. So we go to college and the first day of orientation, to get my picture taken, I walk around the corner, and there is this girl with cut-off bib overalls, long blonde hair, standing next to I can tell you, these two girls, two other women are, and I that was her. I'm going to marry her. And I went back to my roommate, who I had just met. I said, I saw the girl I'm going to marry. And he says, what? Yeah. What's her name? I said, I don't know. We had to wait for the freshman directory to open up and find her picture, and then I saw her name.
So you didn't see her at all the rest of that day. So you spotted her. You locked and loaded. Like that's who
the
I'm
girl.
marrying. Okay.
Yeah. And I called her on our first date, said, so would you like to do something Friday night? She said, no. Well, I'm supposed to marry you. All right. Come on.
I misunderstood him.
But it was a deal.
I thought he said, are you doing anything?
Oh.
Yeah. That's what she said.
You said no.
Yeah.
I think it was a total, absolute God thing. I don't know if that's throwing the fleece, but I asked God for direction and to show me, and he did. And he put in my heart, there wasn't an ounce of doubt. Now, Ruth didn't cooperate that well, but 4 years later, she agreed to it. So,
and you started off the relationship with the miscommunications.
Yeah, so it went well.
Exactly.
Amazing.
And so that's kind of been our life. It's just, I don't know if that's our life, if that's a fair thing to say, but I throw out the fleece a lot. And I think that's actually a sin, but we're going to go with it. And
we can look it up later.
And I guess I just go for
it's a sin.
No, I go for trusting God. God, I think this is, and I don't like sit down and pray and, sweat beads and all that, but I just go through life talking about it. Say, God, this is something that I think I need to do. Is this where I'm supposed to go? You got to show me.
He'll show me. And he does.
Yeah.
I feel like in a lot of your scenarios and situations you've been in, it's proven to be good.
She flew away in the helicopter, and I was scared. I mean, you'd be a fool to not be scared. I was scared, but I knew that she would live. I was scared that she was something was going to, oxygen, brain damage, or something physically, like she wouldn't be able to walk or sing
Yeah.
But she wasn't going to die.
You seem to have a track record for knowing things ahead of time. Is this a thing, Ruth?
There's something to say for
We just condensed 3 really big things into one podcast.
Yeah,
and now I'm
exactly.
just in the trends.
No, I think for me, I talk a lot, but I think God, I said it earlier, is a God of order. And he has a plan and everything. If you pay attention, if you listen and watch for God, he'll show you. He'll talk to you. He'll say, this is the plan. You don't have to follow it. But this is what I got. This is what I got going here.
Be aware of your surroundings.
And pay attention, because this train is moving.
That's what we pounded into our kids.
What does that mean? Pay attention.
Just be alert. Everything, God speaks to you all the time, constantly. Not just like on the 3rd Thursday of the 4th month. It's just, he'll speak to you and listen for his voice and his leading. And it's amazing. He's always there. He's a God of order. Evil tries to stomp that out and create chaos. And evil is selfish and tries to wipe it away. Nope, you don't need this. You need to do this. And God, with that little voice, it's not a big hurricane. It's not a fire. It's just pay attention.
Is it intentionality throughout the day, just to listen, just to make a moment and just point your consciousness to the heavens and say, what's the scoop, versus just making a decision? What's it look like for you?
I don't know that I really do that. I think I have to catch myself. I have to look at things. I have to look at things like Amos does. He can make this electronic stuff work. Mm-hmm. And I just have to stop and think, God created the human mind to do that. So just be grateful for that and recognize that God's power is like super crazy. Mm-hmm. And it's not in big things. Think about the guy that made carpet. Like, yeah, his wife is Elizabeth. You know what, Elizabeth? I'm going to make carpet.
Yeah.
And how did he know that?
And instead of big rolls, I'm going to make squares so that if someone spills on it, we can just pop out a square and put in a new one.
Yeah. And so
inventors.
Helicopters flew Ruth in. And who created a helicopter to carry patients 12 minutes to Sioux Falls? That's just
so
God.
You're putting these pieces together, and does this lead to your faith? Your faith in God's in control? You mentioned earlier the grand plan.
The grand plan, but it's easy to forget that God's in control. Oh. When you have all these outside forces shoving you around, and you have people with money pushing you, saying you got to do this. You're going to make a lot of money doing this.
Yeah.
But you're not going to make your heart any happier.
Right. Mm-mm.
Huh. I don't know. I'm just kind of maybe a little naive with that. I just think I don't know how to put God into. I don't have words to express God's greatness. Mm-hmm. And so when Ruth was healed, that's just God's greatness. Mm-hmm. I don't think God said, "Okay, watch this." Mm-mm. It's just God being steady, always steady.
Mm-hmm. And to be able to trust that, like it's a big deal to be able just to sit back and say, "I trust you. I trust you. I can't. There's nothing I can do." As your wife flies like flying away, like, "Okay, God," like she's literally in your hands. I can do nothing. I pray for the doctors who he brought, and
I'm on the ground, frustrated and crabby, funky, because why did you do this, God? This is not what you promised.
Yeah.
I think we're so fortunate that we were both raised with such faith-based parents.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they never wavered from their faith at all.
It's been ingrained in you since you were a child.
Yep.
And so you just have to maybe it sounds stupid, but to enjoy COVID because of it shows how great God is. COVID can be out of control. People are telling us what we have to do, what we have to wear, what we can and can't do. But yet she got better.
Yeah.
What a wonderful perspective.
It is beautiful.
To take that something that's so hard and just remember that God's in control. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to really get into it, in the book of Judges with Samson, one of my favorite verses is where Samson finally succumbs and he tells about they cut his hair off. But the verse that you never read about it's chapter 17, the last verse of chapter 17. But the hair on his head began to grow back. So God didn't leave him. God was still there. Samson's physical strength was gone, but God was still there. His hair began to grow back again. And that has to do a lot with COVID.
Exactly. My hair
you
began
did
to
get your hair back.
I did get my hair back. Yes.
It's the again, the blessings, the simple, beautiful blessings that amongst all of the awry, the things that are going on around us, if we can simply stop and just take a deep breath and look at what's going on. And so when you say pay attention, and that's what you're teaching your kids, when we get in the big, like just the world's spinning, it's spinning fast. There's so much going on. There's chaos. And I believe a complete detour from the devil of all times is the busyness and not being present. And so I love how you said, just pay attention. I believe that if we paid attention more, we would see the sadness in people's eyes and we would see the joy in people's eyes. But we have to look people in the eye in order to see those things, right?
Yeah. And there's beauty in the ashes.
Yeah.
That's what,
Yep.
to swipe a quote.
You know,
It's something, I don't know where.
there's beauty in the ashes. And my little 5-year-old says, how can God make beautiful things, that song, beautiful things out of ashes? Like it was so matter of fact.
Yeah.
It's possible, sweetheart. So with just the overall everything, Rollie, you go through all of this, and I was just saying how you rang the bell today. So the whole cancer, you all of a sudden are diagnosed with leukemia. And how long ago was that?
It'll be 2 years in May.
So 2 years in May. So you've been going through treatment.
I went through treatment. I had immunotherapy.
Okay.
And I take chemo pills every day. But the crazy part of that, my cancer was found because I got shingles.
Oh, that's right.
I got way crazy shingles.
Owie shingles.
Yeah, like this is overrated.
Yeah.
And I went to the doctor finally, said, okay, I'll go get it checked out. And she said, have you had a physical? And I said, well, yeah, like everybody 12 years ago. So they did the physical and she called back and said, everything looks good, but. I said, what do you mean, but? And my numbers were elevated. And that was the start of my cancer. So thankfully, I got shingles.
Yeah.
Providential.
Said no one ever.
Yeah. For real.
It was providential, not thankful.
Yeah. So, yep, I had, my first month I had infusions, I don't know, every week. And then, so I just did my last one. I was down to once a month. Rang the bell, had some tremendous, unbelievably saintly people take care of me.
Yeah.
The nurses and staff, just bless their hearts.
What a
bunch of great people.
Yes.
We also we met, a lot of them showed up for Amos's brother's memorial.
Oh.
That took care of him while he was in the hospital. And they're again, earthly angels. They're just beautiful people. And to have to go through that all the time. Is there anything that you guys can think back to just your relationship and some of the things, the advice? You already said kind of what you guys have given advice, but when you're going through some of this really tough stuff, your faith is intact, obviously. And it's why I believe you two have been able to it hasn't been smooth sailing by any means. The emotional roller coaster that you two have been on with all of this can really take a toll on a marriage. But I don't feel that from either one of you. I mean, what has it been like for the both of you to look each other in the eye and walk through all of this?
They're looking at each other.
I think it's more it's just a lot of times we just kind of laughed about stuff. When I was diagnosed with
Used
cancer.
a lot of humor.
Yeah. Okay.
Diagnosed with cancer, we went to Applebee's. Said, so we had cancer, what do we do? Ruth said order.
Order food.
Yeah.
It was just,
Yeah, we've used a lot of humor in our whole
you
journey.
can get, I don't know.
You have to learn to laugh at yourself and with yourself.
Take yourself too serious, you just lose it.
Yeah.
I just think sometimes, people sometimes say, what God is up there saying, now watch what happens when they do this. I don't think God does that, but I think how you respond shows what you think of God. So we could be mad, and I still get frustrated and crabby, but I think...
Not necessarily at him.
Well,
I don't see
No, sometimes you can kind of lash out at him, and I think he's okay
but he
with
can
that.
take it.
Quite, yeah,
oh, yeah.
sure.
If I lash out at him, but then I also have a few words I go out on the deck when I got to yell at the devil. I got a few things to say to you, buddy.
And I think God, he reminds me a lot that it's evil. It's not me doing this.
Yeah,
it's evil.
It's evil.
It's chaos. It's what happens when you try to control the world.
So humor and letting God just be in control. Because when a diagnosis comes like that, or when your wife is flown off, and it's like really all that God wants us to do is to press in and, right? Like
Press in and have people around you.
Yeah, and have good
Not,
community.
This is after we said we get overpeopled, but after my dad's funeral, we went to the hospital. We could look in the hospital window. We went to her room, and it was empty, and the bed was made. That was a heart sinker. Oh. Well, they moved her to a negative pressure room. We didn't know that.
Oh, man.
Emily said he just kind of backed up away from the window and said, Emily, call the hospital.
Where'd she go? Who took my wife?
Uh-oh.
Oh, man.
But it was all crazy. When my dad died, I drove the hearse to the cemetery. I thought, you know what? My dad and I were on cars our whole life. I'm driving.
For real? You drove your dad to his...
There's a Vander
To his
motor
plot.
sticker on his casket.
Oh.
Car sticker.
Yeah, you guys worked together for a long time, Rollie. That's a lot of years to be in business with your dad.
I've worked with my dad
We saw him all the time.
every day.
How cool is it to know that we're just this little minute time here on earth and you get to go. I bet you he's driving some really cool cars up in heaven.
No, he's probably got a junky old rusty S10.
Oh, no, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
He wasn't a very good driver.
God's like, no.
Oh, geez. Here's Norm. Everybody back up.
But isn't that just so? We're studying Revelations right now in our Bible study, and I just love the hope that it gives. Right? Like it's a tough chapter in the Bible, but if you really read into it, it's so beautiful what's to come.
Oh, yeah.
It's so beautiful, and just to think that you get to see your dad again.
Yep. It'll be, I don't know. I look forward to I might see my dad, but I don't really know that I'll know my dad. I think I'll know my dad in a different way.
Yeah.
When you're in perfection, you don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll see my dad, but I'm not going to be a golfer. I'm going to live in perfection. No COVID, just perfection.
Yeah.
No evil, no chaos.
evil. Yep.
You think about that, do you?
In heaven?
What heaven's going to be like?
Oh, a lot. She gets grumpy. Oh, God, here we go again.
I do not.
Everything is, can you imagine perfection?
I have tried to imagine that.
I'm married to it.
I missed one there. Didn't I?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's hard to. It's one of those things that's like we can't. We are 4-dimensional human beings. It's hard to think of a 5th dimension. It's just not in our capability. Same thing with perfection. Feels like trying to imagine what that's like. So what do you imagine this like?
Ephesians 3:20. Now to him who's able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine. Immeasurably more, not just more.
Measurably.
Immeasurably.
Immeasurably.
Can't measure it.
So it'll be like I won't even know that I'm in heaven. It'll be like just constant.
Rollie, we
Interesting.
gotta talk. We gotta talk more.
Will the streets be gold? I hope not. I hope they're like unreal. I hope there's some metal that they don't even have any idea.
Yeah.
You two, I can see you two talking in circles.
I love that book. Is it 40 Minutes in Heaven? There's two. There's one 40 Minutes in Heaven, and then there's one that's like 27 minutes in hell.
Yeah.
And he's got some time in heaven too. Mm-hmm. And just to hear their recount of the afterlife, I just remember one sentence where he said he knew this distance. He didn't know how he knew this distance. He just perceived this distance. And it's just little nuggets like that go, this is going to be amazing, whatever it is.
Oh, man. It will be. I can't.
Yeah, you just can't fathom it.
Nothing will be measured. You just said this. So I was thinking of like miles, kilometers, like all of that.
Yeah.
There's no measurement. It's just
COVID will
just
be like
going.
a forgotten thing. COVID was what?
Yeah.
COVID won't even be a word in heaven.
No.
Yeah. What's really interesting is to think about how apparently there's some time is still linear. There is a now and then there's a now. Now.
There's a
No, no.
now.
There's a now.
It's not a song.
But then there's eternity. And how does that work together? That kind of blows my mind.
And there was no before eternity.
How do you
It's always
measure it?
been eternity.
Just makes your mind go in circles.
Yeah.
It would. Yeah, it'd be. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oof. Well,
So we're on Earth now. Evil. Yeah, little deal. The worst part about it, I'm a little bit superstitious. So I think when I talk about evil and kind of mock evil, now evil will try to be evil to me.
yeah. Yep. We'll pray that away though, Rollie.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah,
Got it covered.
We'll pray that away. We got you. Well, this has been awesome. It's so good to have you here. Let's just start with that.
Thank you.
So that whole survival stuff, the survival guilt, that could be another whole conversation, but I would love to pray that away from you as well, because we are so grateful that you are here and you're meant to be here with your kids, with Rollie, with all of it. You are a blessing to so many, Ruth.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And Rollie, thanks for advocating for your bride. You're a good dude.
Well,
You're a good dude.
it was. We had stuff to do. We had.
If you didn't, I would have come back and haunted him.
Yeah. That's funny. Oh, on that note. Okay. Well, thank you both for being here. Honestly, it's so good for you to share your story and to just other people will be able to relate to what you all went through. And it was really hard for so many people around the world.
Yep.
So thank you for sharing some of those intimate details of what you went through. We really love you guys.
Thanks. It was
you.
good.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you so much for listening. We want to change lives through this podcast. And if you want to support this podcast or our guests, please see the links below for our Patreon and giving links.
And like and subscribe and also share our podcast as much as possible. Thank you.